If you're a 1 foot jumper, you need to be doing these to jump higher. And if you're a 2 foot jumper, you need to be doing these to jump higher. My name's Isaiah Rivera and I have a 50.5 inch vertical, and I've taken my vertical from 24 to 36 to 42 to 50.5 inches. It's really hard to make an elite jumper jump even higher. And when you use those same training principles on a beginner or intermediate athlete, the results can be insane. One of the most important training principles when it comes to jump training is the law of specificity. And that is where these exercises come in. These exercises right here are going to be more specific to 1 foot. These exercises right here are going to be more specific to 2 foot jumping. Now, why are they more specific? It's because of the ground contact times that you see in those jumps. A 1 foot speed jump during the plant leg, so that's the time from when your heel touches down to when you toe off on the jump. The average time spent on the ground is about 0.17 to 0.18 seconds, and it can be in the 200 millisecond range for a power jumper. And then for a 2 foot jumper, the ground contact time is measured from when your plant leg hits the ground, your plant leg heel, to toe off of when your block foot hits the ground. So that's the last frame before your feet are off the ground. The average time for an elite jumper is about 0.26 seconds, and it can be upwards to 0.3 seconds. Now, what that means is when you do plyometrics, the plyometrics that can mimic those ground contact times the most are gonna respectively help you with your vertical on that plant. So, here are a lot of plyometrics that you can do. One of our favorite plyometrics to implement into training is sprinting, right? Why are sprints good? 1, it can help with body comp. 2, it has the highest peak forces of any activity that you can do aside from 1 foot jumping. Forces that you see on a single leg are enormous. However, the way you do sprint can vary greatly. You can do short sprints that is focused on maximum acceleration. So that think about going from 0 to 20 meters, like what a running back would do in the NFL when they catch the ball and they have to accelerate, or when you're in that 3-point stance and you get off the line. Or you can do long sprints. I'm talking 40 plus meters up to 150 to 200 meters. And the way that this is achieved is a lot different. On a short sprint, the angle is gonna be way closer to the ground. It's gonna be more quad dominant. You're gonna be focused on big strides pushing versus upright sprinting. You're gonna be completely upright. The ground contact times are way shorter. It's gonna be more tippy tappy. It's like the floor is hot. It's gonna be more dependent on your hamstrings and glutes. And then when we look at a 1 foot jump versus a 2 foot jump, which muscles do 1 foot jumps use more? Your hamstrings, your glutes, your calves, that posterior chain. 2 foot is way more quad dominant. So just by that, looking at that, acceleration work is gonna be way more specific for 2 foot jumping. Then we look at the ground contact times, right? During an accel, you're spending way more time pushing into the ground versus upright sprinting. So it also mimics the ground contact times that you see in those respective jumps. Now, if you wanna take this to an even higher extreme, you can do short hill sprints or short sprints with resistance. And that's gonna mimic the ground contact times you see in a 2 foot jump even more. Now, on to the next plyometric, depth jumps. Depth jumps is when you hop off a box and you hit the ground and then jump as high as you can. And there's a few different strategies that you can use in a depth jump. One of the strategies is focusing on being like a bouncy ball and just spending as little time on the ground as possible and just get up off the ground as quickly as you can. That's what a short ground contact time depth jump is. A long ground contact time depth jump is a depth jump where you jump off the box and then all you're focusing on is jumping as high as you can, no matter how much time you spend on the ground. So you let gravity kind of push you down into the ground, and when you feel like you can have the ideal jump height, you jump up as high as you can. Those are obviously gonna be more specific to 2 foot jumping, right? You wanna maximize time spent applying force into the ground so you can get as much height as you can. 1 foot jump, it's gonna be way more momentum focused as far as the approach. And you literally just wanna pop on and off the ground as fast as you can to get the highest jump possible. And that's the strategy that you wanna be doing the depth jumps with. And now we have alternate leg bounding and alternate split lunge jump. Alternate leg bounds are one of my favorite exercises for 1 foot jump. They teach you timing and the rhythm. If you can have good timing and rhythm on bounding, alternate leg bounding, 1 foot jump comparatively is gonna be way easier. It's gonna load the jumps immensely as far as eccentric forces go. So it's gonna be way higher loading than you would see in a 1 foot jump, which is what we want. We want an overload. That way we can spur on adaptation, which means you're gonna jump higher by becoming a fitter athlete. And then the joint angles. So that's something that we haven't talked about. Joint angles is another way that you can have something be more general versus more specific. Alternate leg bounds, you're landing in a quarter squat and then jumping up. Versus an alternate split lunge jump, your legs are at 90 degrees. The front leg is mimicking the plant leg on a 2-foot jump, and then the back leg is mimicking the position that you're in right when you're gonna push on the penultimate almost perfectly. So this is gonna be way more specific for 2-foot jumping. Having said that, why not just do all of these plyos, right? Well, you can. The downside to being too specific for too long is you'll run into injuries, 1, and 2, it's gonna get stale. So there's a point of diminishing returns when you do these exercises, all right? You're gonna get big stimulus, and then you're gonna adapt to it, and then it's gonna level off. What doing the other end, so if you're a 1-foot jumper, the benefit to doing this is it's gonna be general work and it's gonna prep you to do these things. And then vice versa. This stuff is gonna be more general when compared to this stuff for a 2-foot jumper. So we might do things that are general earlier on in the year. So for a 1-foot jumper, we might do this early on in a macro cycle. And then over time, we'll get to the more specific stuff on this side. But the specific stuff is what's gonna push the needle forward as far as performance goes. But just make sure, remember, adaptations are specific, but the fatigue effects are also specific. So if you do highly specific stuff, you're gonna get fatigued and performance is gonna go down. So keep that in mind. Just because you're doing a very specific training cycle doesn't mean you're gonna jump high. It just means you're gonna get more fatigued and it's gonna be more intense. But when you unload, that's when the gains are gonna come in and you're gonna jump higher. Now, if you want us to apply these principles to your jump training, go to THPstrength.com to sign up for our online coaching and use the code THP for 10% off of your first month. If you guys like the video, please like the video, leave a comment, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.